Just got it. We're live. Welcome, influential leaders and executives. This is Melissa, your group host, and joining me is Kelsie-Ann. And today we are talking about how to ask questions to your employees, ask the hard questions, but in a way that feels comfortable, and to do it with confidence. So this is a question that I get asked all the time. This is something behind the scenes that I work with my clients. And so in terms of having hard conversations, it's hard to have hard conversations. And then we get into the hard conversation. So we psych ourselves up, we get prepared, we lead to the question we really need to be asking in this conversation, and we don't feel comfortable asking it. So that is what I want to focus on today. So yes, the conversation, but I want to really, really look at those hard questions that we're avoiding. All right. So you're joining me today on the Leaders Impact Lab. We have this live stream inside the Facebook group every week, or almost every week. And the reason for this live stream is for you to take a moment, take a break, join us with your coffee, and explore some important leadership topics, leadership challenges, so that you can take away gold nuggets that you can start practicing right now. Leadership is a practice. Okay, it's not one training and you're done. It's a constant going back to the concepts, going back to the how-tos, and reintegrating it in your practice. And the better your practice is, the sharper you are, the easier and being a leader is. And leadership is no easy task, but the easier it can become, you can start avoiding some of the issues that were occurring, and you can be more effective when the challenges do come, because we can't prevent everything, but we can get a lot better at handling the situations as they arise. So this is the reason why the live stream. My name's Melissa, and if we haven't met yet, if we haven't gotten on a connect call, I invite you to schedule one with me. I like to meet members of the group. I like to get to know people. But in case we haven't yet, just a little bit about me. I'm an executive coach and a management consultant. And what I do is I work with managers, executives, leaders, business owners, and I help them build up the people side of business to increase engagement, employee retention, and high performance. So that's high performance for their employees and high performance for their teams. So that's a little bit about me. If you're joining me right now, say hi, drop hi. Who are you? Where are you joining me from? And maybe if you have any thoughts about having the hard conversations, asking the tough questions, what are your thoughts on this subject matter? So go ahead, drop below, say hi. If you're watching on the replay, hashtag replay. And I'm going to give Kelsie-Ann here a moment to introduce herself.
Hello there. I am Kelsie-Ann Balcom, and I am your Director of Marketing and PR. And I'm here and I join you periodically on the Leaders Impact Lab to give the employee perspective on whatever topic we're talking about. And we do have hard conversations sometimes in our business. So yeah, I'm here to offer that perspective.
And if you're not having hard conversations, if you're not asking the tough questions, it's not going to work. Something's wrong. When I hear, oh no, everything's fine, and we never have, any type of, we don't need to go there, that is a problem, because nothing is going to change unless you're having those transformational conversations. So they can become hard, go from hard to actually transformational, and they can be it doesn't have to feel uncomfortable and it doesn't have to feel bad and no one has to lose. So let's talk a bit about why we perceive these conversations as hard or these questions as hard. And our perception of them being hard is why we avoid them in the first place. So what is hard about having these really important conversations and addressing these important questions? What do you think, Kelsie-Ann?
I think it's hard not knowing how the other person's going to react, right? That it's likely going to be, you're going to get an emotional reaction and not knowing what to expect from that other person. Sometimes you may, sometimes you might not. And if you expect one thing and you get the other, how do you switch kind of in gear?
Right. So not knowing what to expect, not knowing how you're going to react or respond to it, knowing, and that's another thing, knowing that you don't want to react, that you want to respond, but in that moment, will you have that self-control, that ability to pause and make an effective choice? What if the person has an emotional reaction? That is a big one. What do I do then if they freak out or if they shut down?
Mm-hmm.
What if they disengage? What if they go rogue on me? What if they tell me everything's great and they leave this conversation and go chat with other employees? And then there's a whole bunch of chatter in the background about me and me as a leader, which will affect my whole team.
Definitely.
There's a lot of risk. There's also the risk of losing the employee, them being unhappy with maybe hearing some feedback or being asked those questions and them leaving, and will I be able to replace that person? What if they leave? Turnover, that's, there's a cost there to turnover. I'm going to have to find someone. Will I be able to find someone? This is a hard time right now to find the right fit employees, finding people who want to work, who are excited to show up to work. We are experiencing a lot of quiet quitting, a lot of disengagement at this moment right now in the workplace. That is real. So there's a lot of fear. So if you're listening right now, drop in the chat, do you relate to any of this? And what are some of the other reasons? Because this is not an exhaustive list, but what are the other reasons that you may be avoiding the conversation, or you're seeing other people avoid these conversations? I'd love to hear from you, because I'm always, I do this day in and day out, and I'm always expanding the understanding behind this behavior, this avoidant behavior. And I also asked a question yesterday on Facebook about this, so you can go on my profile and you can drop your thoughts on this too as well below on that thread. So that's why we avoid these hard conversations, these tough questions. But what I've done, and I've had to work really, really, really hard to build up these skills, okay? No easy thing. But now, as a coach and walking into businesses, working with leaders, and then intervening, I do a lot of interventions with employees and with teams. I do have these hard conversations. I do ask the tough questions, and I ask them because other people won't. So, Kelsie-Ann, you've experienced this with me. What do I do, or what's maybe different about my approach?
For one thing, I think our employer relationship is very different from previous employee relationships.
Okay, so relationship.
And that I know you look at me as more of a colleague versus a employee, and that makes a big difference. You include me in a lot of the business workings, so that I really get that clearer picture of what is going on in your business right now and how I serve your business to make it functional, right? And that so that those pieces. I think you're very good at asking questions and waiting and listening for the response, and then kind of picking at a thread and kind of asking more questions to find out more information without making me feel shameful or icky about my response. Like the way that you ask the questions are very, they're not leading. You're not trying to trap me. You're not trying to get a certain answer from me. You just want to know what's going on. But it's a very neutral way that you deliver those questions. And I mean, right now, I can't remember exactly the words that you choose, but the way that you deliver those questions in the receiving end of it is very, I don't feel judged. I don't feel shamed, regardless of my response. And I know in the end, all you want is the actual truth.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want a bullshit answer. You just want the truth.
Yeah. And we get a lot of BS answers.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna talk about that. Well, we can start talking about it now. So thank you, Kelsie-Ann, for that. Totally from Kelsie-Ann's perspective, I had no idea what she was going to share, but everything that you just shared really lines up perfectly for the three things that I want to share today. The three key components that will transform those conversations and kind of pave the way for you to be asking those questions with more ease, with more comfort. And it is possible to get there because I'm there. So, and I was terrified. I hate conflict. I've avoided it. I'm a peacemaker. I've been a peacemaker my whole life, and I would have compromised myself in all kinds of ways.
You did.
Just to keep the peace.
Yeah.
All right. This is who I was and my behavior in the past. So it is possible to transform that behavior. So number one, trusting environment, creating a trusting environment. And you pointed to it with the relationship. That is part of the environment, is our relationship. And when it comes to trust, we often think about honesty and integrity. Honesty, transparency, integrity. Okay. And we equate trust to that. But the thing that you need to know about building a trusting environment is trust is much bigger than just honesty and transparency. And honesty and transparency is something that comes after trust has been built, or at least some trust has been built. So we wait for people to be honest and transparent before we trust them. But that will not come until there's some trust. So we need to feel, and this is like 82% of the population. So this is most people need to feel comfortable. They need to feel safe. They need to feel trust towards you, which means you're going to need to trust them, because trust is based on reciprocity. If you don't trust them, they're going to pick up on that and they're not going to trust you. Okay, so you need to pave that foundation of trust. If you don't have that, you're not going to get honest and transparent answers, which means asking the question is for naught. Why would you ask the tough questions if you're not going to get the answer? There's a reason we ask these very strategic questions. There is an answer that's important here. And if you're not going to get the answer, if you're just going to get what they think you want to hear, it's not worth having the conversations. It's not worth asking the questions.
Just a quick question, or just a quick comment.
Yeah.
Robert mentions here, I believe many small businesses don't have the proper policies and processes in place. As a result, don't have the templates to have these discussions in a productive way with positive outcomes. So a lot of people just don't know what to do and how to do it.
They don't know what to do and how to do it. And that is very true. So one of the things that I do with my clients is I give them a communication framework. So I give them a, start here. Step number 1, build the environment. But the environment is not just a one step. The environment is all the time. So it's through the conversation. It's before the conversation. It's after the conversation.
So it's like a practice then.
It is a practice. Yes, absolutely. So I can't start building the relationship when I'm about to have a hard conversation with you. It's too late. Go back, build up the relationship, build up the environment. So yes, I agree with Robert. We need better communication processes, and there are some really good ones that exists. Mine is reality therapy and lead management. So that comes from Dr. Glasser's work, and that is the one that I teach all my clients, and I help them practice how to use this communication process, as well as building up their skills, their emotional intelligence skills, and there's trust facilitation skills. So these things go hand in hand internally inside my practice. So I hope that helps clarify that. But environment, there's no getting past that. We need to have trust. We need to have that environment built. Any added comments from Kelsie-Ann? What do you think about environment?
Yeah, I think feeling involved as well. That's a key piece of that involvement, or of that environmental piece, is that I've in other businesses, in other positions, not felt that kind of in being included. So if you're not feeling included and you're always kind of feeling like you're sitting off to the corner, you're already kind of in that disengaged space.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that raises the question of how do you build the trust? How do you build the environment? And so often I will have conversations, I will have coaching conversations with leaders, and they know the right answer is to build trust. But when I ask them how they're going to do it in this situation, very rarely can anyone answer that question. There is a lack of understanding how we're going to practice facilitating trust. So I'm going to give you one quick nugget here. It's a big topic. I usually work with people over a period of 6 months just in trust facilitation. Okay, I have a program that deals with trust facilitation. If you are interested in this program, drop trust facilitation in the comments below, and I can reach out to you and we can definitely have a conversation about it and see if that's something that would fit for you. But one important question is, what does this person in front of me need to feel? What do they need to hear, see, know in order to feel trust with me, in order to feel trust with this situation, in order to feel trust inside this system or inside this organization? So trust on many different levels, not just within you, because you can have the best relationship. And I've actually lived this, where my relationships with each employee, each of my team members, so at this point I'm within an organization, I have great relationship, great trust, lots of goodwill, but they don't trust the new management, the new business owner, and they don't trust the new direction that we're going in with the business. And that created a lot of obstacles for me. So I got comments where Melissa, I really love working with you. I love showing up for you. I just can't do it anymore for them. Right? So there's trust on many levels. So what does this person need? And Kelsie-Ann, you gave us, right, that in your answer, you told me what you needed. You need to feel included. You need to know that you're included. in order to feel trust. So for you specifically, that's something that I do.
Mhm.
But everyone needs a little something different. So it's important to check in with that person so that you can discover what that person is going to need. We all have different trust styles. So I actually measure trust styles. And we all need something different.
Mhm.
For some people, it's like, I need you to show up on time and I need you to like do exactly as you say. And if there's any inconsistencies, that's a problem for me. Personally, that's not an issue for me. For me, I need to see that people are in control of their emotions, that they feel comfortable, that they're honest, that they care about others. They want to be part of this. That's what I need personally to feel trust with a person. I don't care if you didn't show up on time. I don't care if you changed your mind, if you changed your decisions, if you made different choices. I'm totally okay with that. But I need to know that you're not just in it for yourself. I need to know that you're in it for us. And that's how you're going to build trust with me.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is just a few examples to get your mind started to think about what does this person need. And you'll find the clues in what they say. When you start having conversations, you're going to listen for it.
Mhm.
And I just picked it up just from what Kelsie-Ann said.
Mhm. And I think in general, most employees are wanting to feel safe, because you got to kind of think of the other perspective, that if they're not feeling safe in other worlds that they live in, right, in their home world, or if they're a student or whatever, and if they're not feeling safety at work, right, it's yeah.
So what do they need to feel safe?
Mm-hmm.
So safety doesn't look the same for everyone. It's not built in the same way.
So the first way was building your environment. What's the second way?
So we haven't gone past. So number one, build a trusting environment. Number two, lean into emotions. Exactly the thing that you're scared of.
Emotions, they don't belong at work. You leave those at the door, don't you?
So just quickly, emotions, what are they? Because we think, emotional intelligence is controlling emotions, but we actually don't control emotions. We can navigate emotions. Emotions is slightly different than feeling. Emotions are the chemical signals from your brain, letting the rest of you and your behavioral system know that something needs to change. Either you're moving towards, you're moving away, you're attacking, you're behaving in some way, but it's that signal that says, hey, it's time to behave right now. So that is behind the behavior. So if you have a behavior, if there's something that's happening that is not cool, that you need to address, then what's behind that behavior is the emotions. So we can't pretend that this is not happening, because this is part of the biology. This is part of how they're making choices. But what's right behind the emotion is their wants, is their needs, it's their beliefs, it's their values, it's how they see themselves, their identity. And that's really what's going to create a change here. So when I say lean into the emotion, I'm not saying, sit down with them and have a good cry. I'm saying, so in the 6 seconds world, we call it VET, VEET, validate, explore, transform. So you mentioned, Kelsie-Ann, that I ask and pause. And I keep digging for the truth. I keep digging for what's real. But you're not sitting there crying. We start with validating your emotion, what you're feeling. It's a true experience. You were feeling it. Then I explore. What is this? Tell me more about this emotion. What's happening? And then if you add some emotional intelligence in there, which is what I kind of do, is okay, you're angry. Okay, what I know about anger is something's in the way of what you want. So what do you want? And what is in the way? What is the obstacle? How can we manage this obstacle? Is it a real obstacle? Can we prevent it? You know, then it becomes an exploration that leads to that transformation. So the person won't stay in the emotion. They're going to move through. So when I say lean into the emotion, it's move through it, acknowledge it, explore, it will transform. So either it will transform by their perception is going to change, or what they want is going to change, or you're going to actually get some information and you're going to make a plan and you're going to take action that will deal with the thing that's causing the problem. So either the person inside is going to transform, or something about the situation is going to transform, which will transform how they feel. If you are frustrated with a system that's not working and you get the acknowledgement, and now together we're working out the system, we don't need to be frustrated anymore.
I think too, you've also made it very clear and apparent that it's normal to feel multiple feelings at once as well. And then sometimes we look at multiple feelings at once, or, you know, emotions and what I'm feeling, because two things are coming up, and that's perfectly okay.
Right. And both experiences are true. And yeah, that's emotions. Usually there's a combination of emotions. So sometimes the question of like, what else? You're feeling angry and what else? Because angry and sad, or angry and anticipation, is a bit different. Angry and sad, there's a perception there that you're losing something that you care about. You're starting a grieving process. Whereas angry and anticipation is about looking into the future. So you're expecting something to be an issue. So both are anger, but slightly different nuances of anger. So the questions I would ask at that point would be slightly different.
Definitely.
All right, lean into emotions. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I guess most people, when you say lean into emotions, they're going to be like, hell no, I don't want to lean into my emotions. Like, no way, no how. Like, how do you do that effectively?
The flip side is
work?
not dealing with them and pretending they're not there. What happens?
Right. Usually an explosion at some point.
Yep.
Right. Or disengagement, right? Just completely like one extreme to the other. Or they just kind of stay neutral, and you don't really get much out of them either.
But nothing happens. And it doesn't go away. Here's the thing. If you're not willing to lean into this, it's not going away. It will be simmering below the surface. So you might not notice it. You might be like, oh, things are great, you know, no concern, but it's still there. It hasn't moved, and it's still impacting performance, still impacting behavior. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So you can pretend, you can tell the other person you shouldn't be feeling that, or learn how to compartmentalize your emotions, leave them at the door, all of these things. But they don't get you closer to what you want. They don't get you out of it. You don't get to transform the situation. You can put band-aids on it, but it doesn't go away. So then you're constantly managing, you get caught in managing this thing and frustrated. Like that feels so frustrating that, didn't we deal with this last month and the month before and the month before that? And this keeps happening and it's eating up my time. We don't have time to manage the same problem over and over again. So if you want to not have to manage that problem, not have to eventually deal with explosions or people quitting out of the blue or people leaving, or, you know, all of those surprises that come up. If you don't want to be caught in the unexpected, then lean into it. Ask more questions. And it doesn't have to be like we're not sitting there crying. I ask you about your emotions, but we move through them, and those conversations happen rather quickly.
Definitely.
All right. So VET, validate, explore, transform. Number 3, practice balancing agendas. What does that mean? What does it mean?
Well, as the employer, you want and need different things than I do as an employee, which I need and want different things as well. So it's to balance them both.
Absolutely. And there's actually more than one agenda. So the great thing about coaching, when you're in pure coach mode, not within an organization, my client, the person in front of me, the only thing that matters is their agenda. Pure and simple, what they want for themselves is what I'm after. However, when I am a leader and I have a job within an organization and I'm coaching an employee, the employee has an agenda. I have an agenda as a leader. I have a role, I have responsibilities. I'm responsible for that employee. I'm also responsible for my team. I'm responsible for communicating with other departments. I'm responsible for pushing things up, meeting certain goals. I'm responsible to make sure that my team is meeting their shared goals. Right? So I have a lot of responsibility. I definitely have an agenda. Mm-hmm. The business has an agenda. The business has a mission. It has a strategic plan. It has strategic goals. It has expectations, policies, right? This is all part of the organizational's agenda. And we might have a board. Oh, now you have all these people sitting on the board with their own agendas. And there might be other stakeholders. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's a lot of agendas. So the reason we're stressed and the reason we're perceiving we need to have this conversation is because of all the agendas. My agenda, like things aren't meeting our agendas. The problem is when we approach the conversation, we're approaching it with our agenda. And we're driving the conversation and we're driving right over that employee.
And their agenda.
And their agenda, exactly. And if your agenda as a parent, if you've already have it all figured out and you know what needs to happen here, and you have a plan that you just need the employee to agree to, what's happening? Like as the employee, Kelsie-Ann, how does that feel?
I don't feel included in your plan for me.
Trust is impacted?
Yep. And most people don't like being told what to do.
No one likes being told what to do because we all have a need for power and freedom. So we're not meeting those needs.
And most people like to have an idea and act on it, not be told this is the idea and you're to act on it. Like, even if it's, okay, I know that this is the mutual agenda, this is the mutual goal. We we hash it out together. We figure it out together. You're never, ever telling me what to do and how to do it. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, this is what we need to do. How are we going to accomplish this together? What do you need from me? And like, that is constantly one of those things that really hasn't been done from employers before you, is what do you need from me to do your work? So if any point I'm, caught up, I know that I can reach out to you at any point in time. I might not get a reply like that because you're with a client or you're, this, that, or the other thing, but I know you will address and give me whatever I need so that I can move that project forward. but you've already built that, that trust in with me, that at any point in time, if I need something from you, I just have to ask.
Yeah.
Little or big. You won't
And
always be able to deliver. I know that, right? But I can still ask.
yeah. And one of the issues with, being caught up in our own agenda as we're going into the conversation is our questions will suffer. What we'll do is we'll actually load our questions with our agenda. We don't even notice we're doing it. But what that's telling the employee is like, there is a right and wrong answer here. You better have it right. And you know what's right. So you give it to me. So employees just follow suit and they give you what you want to hear, because the way that you frame your questions or the way that what you've added as information.
So can you give me an example for somebody who is not familiar with like a loaded question versus like an unloaded question?
Yeah.
Like, or an open question, I guess it would be.
Yeah. So Kelsie-Ann, I'm noticing that you're frustrated because of the situation that happened yesterday. Can you tell me why? Okay, you don't have to answer that.
No. Yeah.
But just to give you a sense.
Yep.
Okay. So now I've told you you're frustrated. I told you what the reason that you were frustrated because of the situation yesterday.
But I
I've
might
asked
not
you
be
why, so this is already confrontational because
right.
I put why inside my question.
Right. So now you've told me how I feel. So I feel like I have to feel that. You've told me why.
Or you're going to give me information just about that frustration.
Right. So I'm
You're
probably
also
not
just going to give me
open.
information about yesterday.
Right.
And
I'm not going to be open with if there's other things that are impacting what happened yesterday.
And you're not going to tell me about the things that led up to yesterday, or maybe the fact that you're sad or you're frustrated, there's something else going on. So you're going to give me just that, and you're going to keep it to that. And you're probably just going to say, yes, I'm frustrated about yesterday. I knew it. However, flip side, I could go with something like, I'm picking up on something off here, and I wanted to check in with you, especially where there was a situation yesterday. Like to understand a little bit more about what's happening so that I can make sure that we're aligned. And if there's anything that I need to adjust, then we can do it. Is this a conversation you're willing to have?
Yes.
Okay, permission. All right, awesome. So can you tell me a little bit more about what's happening with you?
Blah, blah, blah.
Right? That's it. Sit back and I relax. You're going to tell me. You're going to tell me if it was yesterday. You're going to tell me if it was frustration. You're going to tell me. I'm not having to guess or to load my questions.
Yeah. I'm not feeling attacked. I'm just feeling like, okay, she really wants to hear what I have to say. She wants to listen to me.
Yeah. So in order to do that, what I need to do is kind of put the agendas on the shelf a little bit. And in my mind, this is visually what I do in my mind is I have a shelf and it sits right here, and I put things off on the shelf and then I pull them off as needed. So I know that the organization has an agenda. I have an agenda. I might have a few stakeholders here with agendas. The important thing is that I've gotten clear about those agendas and the important details about those agendas that impact the conversation that we're about to have here. So I can do that work beforehand. Then I put it on the shelf and I just lean into the employee's agenda. So I can keep those not preload my questions with what I think and drive this conversation. I can put it aside. I can lean into the employee. And then as needed, I can go on the shelf and I can pick up one piece and put it on the table. And then I can go pick up another piece and I can put it on the table, so that together we can look at those pieces and co-create a solution. So it takes a little bit of practice, a lot of clarity. So before, don't just jump into a conversation, but explore, what does this person need to know about these agendas? Because there is definitely something that this person doesn't know. There's also something you don't know. You don't know about their agenda. So there's an exploration both ways. And they're going to give you information, which is why you're asking questions. And you're going to get the opportunity to add information they need in order to evaluate. It's kind of like saying, people thinking that they just need to be in an area. They don't have a goalpost. We haven't given them this is where you need to be. This is, so they might be roaming around Moncton and saying like, hey, I'm in Moncton. I thought that's where we were supposed to be. And then you can say, well, actually, you need to be at the corner of St. George and Von Harvey. That's the goalpost. Oh, okay, well, I'm just 2 blocks over. Okay, the path there is not going to be too far. Or like, oh, yeah, I was on the other end of the city. Whoops. Okay. There's quite a... But that's the information we can give. Here's the goalpost. Here's the information you need to know so that you can evaluate how close or far away you are from that. And know that, oh, okay, I haven't been hitting that. Mm-hmm. Now we can get into what is the plan? But first, you need to self-evaluate. You need to know within yourself, come to that conclusion that I'm not meeting, or that things aren't quite aligned, or whatever information that needs to be on the table for the person to arrive there.
Right. So it's not you giving me feedback.
I'm not giving you an evaluation.
Right.
I'm not saying you're not meeting the goals. I'm saying here's information about the goals based on what you've been doing so far and the results. How are you doing in relation to that goal?
And letting me make my decision.
I can add information on consequences. If we don't meet this goal, here's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. That's information that can help you make a decision, that can help you evaluate the situation. Mm-hmm. So it's a practice of leaning into the employee's agenda, clearly knowing all the agendas in play and weaving them in and out to the conversation. Does that make sense to you? And if you're listening, does it make sense? If it makes sense, drop "it makes sense" or give me a thumbs up in the comments so I know that we're on the same page here. If you have any questions about balancing agendas, let me know. Again, another really important piece that my clients practice. There is a lot of practice that goes into these things to build up the skills for it to become easy. But it just knowing and starting to be aware of all these agendas and how you're bringing them into the conversation makes a big difference. So what we learned today, in order to pave the way for you to ask questions with more confidence, building the environment, creating a trusting environment, number 1, or component 1. Component 2 was leaning into emotions. All right, they're not going away. You want to transform them, lean into them. Use VET, validate, explore, transform. And third, learn and practice balancing agendas. Be aware of how you're coming into the conversation and how that is impacting the way that the language that you're using and how you're framing your questions. Mm-hmm. Pro tip, be very aware of what's important about these agendas in this conversation, put it on the shelf and be ready to pull it out. Don't steamroll the person with your agenda or all kinds of information. It's not the time. And sometimes it's not even needed. Sometimes you get into that conversation, there's no need. They know, they can tell you they know, right? And that exploration is going to happen without you needing to put a lot of information on the table. And sometimes, hey, there's a lot of blind spots and there's a lot of things that weren't known that you're going to have to put on the table. And we have biases. We think people know what we know. It's not true. They don't know. There's a reason you're a leader. There's a reason you have a clear vision of the landscape. You have a lot more of this, how everything fits together. And that goes back to something that you said, Kelsie-Ann, about how I fit into the business, how I'm connected to the bigger picture. And you as the leader can do that for the client. You can, or the employee, you can help them see that. You also don't know about their real motivation, their real thoughts, their real feelings, their identity, what they want, their needs, and how their needs are being satisfied or not. So this is information that you're going to gather. So you don't know, we have an assumption, there's a bias about we think we know why people behave. We never do. So go get that information. So this will help you, put you in a better position to ask the tough questions, to move through these conversations in a way that feels good to you, in a way that feels good to the employee, and actually get you results, actually get you to the other side, to cross that bridge to the other side of what you really want. And if you want more information about how to do these things, I'm happy to give away a free consult. So I think we have a few spots coming up here in November for free consultations. So that can help you better dig into these things and how they apply to your specific situation. I can give you recommendations. And then if there is something that you want to explore in terms of working with me, we can do that at that time. All right, so thank you everyone for joining. It was a fun one. I hope it was fun for you. I hope you learned lots. Leave a comment below. What did you learn? What are you walking away with? This is the coach in me, okay? Let's anchor. What is one highlight, one insight that you're walking away with today? Bonus points, how are you gonna use it? If you don't wanna drop it in the comments, you can always send me a DM. All right, happy Tuesday, everyone. I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.